Hello YouTubers, this channel is all about RV living, traveling, and do-it-yourself projects. Please hit the subscribe button below. Hello tubers, today I want to share a little simple fuse test that I did to ease my mind. I have to admit, during the load test, in the back of my mind, I was worrying about blowing fuses because I knew how much work it took to solder all those fuses in there. And I had a request in that BMS video about why I used the fuse I had, and I referred to Average Joe and said that the half amp fuse blew at 3 amps, and I was wrong. After reviewing his video again, it actually, the half amp fuse and 1 amp fuse both blew right at 2 amps. So I wanted to justify or clarify to myself that my batteries with the half amp fuse could supply as much as 1 amp. And that would be well over the 2 kilowatts that my inverter would call for. So it cut me a little piece of PVC pipe. It's that 1/2 inch hot water pipe, the length of a battery, and I put a metal contact on one end of it and the other so it would fit in my Box Novo tester. Then I put a battery connected to the fuse, and I started the charger to discharge the battery. This test took about right at 4 hours. The Box Novo charger was set at 1 amp discharge, and as I said, it took about 4 hours for it to test this battery. So basically, I had the battery in a different holder, and I went through the fuse to the Box Novo. And the fuse never heated up during the entire 4 hours. In fact, I didn't include it on this video, but I went ahead and let it charge the battery back at 1 amp as well, and that took another 3 hours. So this fuse was used for 1 amp for about 7 hours total. Yes, it was. I would suggest that you do a similar test, especially if you're using a 12 volt battery. Remember, the 12 volt is going to be drawing twice as much amperage as I did during my load test. So 1 kilowatt of power from an inverter will draw right close to 100 amps. So depending on what your loads are going to be and your voltage of your battery will determine the fuse you want to use. And you want the fuse to blow according to the maximum discharge rate of your battery. So you need to pull the data sheet for your batteries and see what the maximum is. These Samsung batteries, it's 1C. So I do not want to exceed 2 amps. What a lot of these people that think you're crazy if you don't use a BMS don't seem to understand or want to admit is that the BMS does not give you any safety as far as a runaway battery cell. The BMS controls the cells in parallel, but it does not protect the individual cells. Even when a BMS clicks off because either you've overcharged or you're undercharged, it does not bring you any safety at the single cell level. So if you do not have the correct fuse on each of the cells, even when the BMS shuts off the battery, if you've already lit the fuse, just take an example of, you got a sack full of firecrackers and you light the fuse in one, you drop it in that sack. There's no getting that firecracker out of that sack, and it's going to probably damage or set up off a chain reaction with the other batteries. So your only safety that you have is that these fuses will take out your battery when it's supposed to. Now granted, engineers, when they run these tests on these batteries, the data sheet will give you either 1C, half a C, 4C, whatever the type of battery that you're using. And for example, these batteries are rated 1C, so I can pull safely 2 amps out of the battery, the single battery. But the engineers that put those sheets together, their tests maybe shown no problem up to 4 amps, and for safety factors, they're going to rate the battery for only 2 amps. But whatever that number is where you want your battery to disconnect from your system if it exceeds that level. With these half amp fuses, and it blows at 2 amps, that is exactly where I want it to blow. What I had to justify here was that during normal loads and my maximum load that I could pull, I did not want to blow a fuse. And this eased my mind to know that this battery connected through this fuse to that tester that's drawing 1 amp charge and discharging 1 amp, that I'm not going to have any problem. I wish I had a way to test at 1.5 amps, but this was a simple test. It was real simple to put together, and it eased my mind tremendously. Well, I thought the video was over, but I decided to add a little bonus to this fuse test. What you're looking at here is 2 batteries holders in parallel, and that amp meter that's between them, those things are so cheap. They're I think $1 a piece, and a lot of people use them for individual cell monitors. But it has 4 leads on it. The 2 outer ones are your ground and positive that goes to your power supply, and the 2 leads that come out of the center go to a load, and you can put different resistor sizes in that load. What you're seeing here is the battery on the left is my power supply. It's a fully charged battery. And the reason I did this test is during the fuse installation, I blew 4 or 5 fuses because the voltage difference between the cells. It is so important before you start soldering up fuses that you make sure all the cells are the same voltage. So what we have here is the battery on the left during my test was brand new, fully charged at 4.2. It's only reading 4.0 here. And the battery on the right, I started off with a fully discharged battery at 3.0. And the reason I didn't video this is because the fuse would blow so quick. As soon as I would connect the fuse between these 2 batteries, there was such an amperage rush from the fully charged battery to the discharged battery, it would blow the fuse immediately. Not until I got a battery that was 3.7 volts or higher did I not blow the fuse. This battery here was the first one that I didn't blow the fuse, and when I put it in this holder, it was at 3.7, and it has sat here for a while, and it's equalizing with this fully charged battery. And the reason this is important to test all your batteries before you solder them, I highly recommend you test the batteries, you solder the ground side completely up, and then you start putting the fuses on. Now, the difference in voltages by just a little bit doesn't matter when you solder the first 10, say. But when you get to 50 batteries soldered together and you put a low battery and you connect that fuse, you're going to blow it because there's so much power in those 50 batteries, and it's discharging into that lower cell immediately. I found that if all the batteries were within 4.15 to 4.2. I never had a problem with blowing a fuse. The first time it happened to me, I checked the cell that it blew on, and it was at 4.0, and the other cells that I had about 3/4 of the pack soldered up. The other cells were at still about 4.19, and so that voltage difference, when you add that one cell, that amp rush into that one cell, is more than I would imagine it would be. So that's just a little bit more information on this video that might help you when you go to solder your packs up. Check you later.
Thanks for watching my video, and if you found any value, please hit the like button below. Thank you very much.